The substances and methods discussed in this video carry extreme life-threatening medical risks. Misuse of these compounds can result in permanent organ damage, irreversible stroke, and sudden cardiac arrest, so proceed at your own risk. Road cycling is the most physically punishing sport in existence. The demand on the human cardiovascular system is relentless. From the air into the lungs, the blood, through the heart and into muscles, the complex chemical processes required to generate power has hundreds of moving parts. When the margins are this small, even the tiniest improvement can be the difference between victory and irrelevance. When cyclists suddenly started performing at previously unseen levels, riding away in the mountains at over 500 sustained watts, it was clear that cycling had entered into a new age of scandals, champions, and ultimately those who paid the ultimate price to win a bike race. A cyclist wins a race on a Sunday afternoon, but 5 days later his heart stops. Another never wakes up, and by 1990 newspapers report that 15 competitive cyclists had died in only 3 years. Fast forward to the 2000s, an Italian professional has a heart attack while racing. 2 years later, the same thing happens again, and in 2009, a young rider dies in their sleep, but the cause was never released. Add another 10 years and further 10 suspicious deaths, including one of Team Ineos's team directors, and then we get into yet more unanswered sudden cyclist passings. Michael Goulart dies during Paris-Roubaix. A heart attack causes him to lose control and to crash. He is pronounced dead that evening, surrounded by family and loved ones. Whether these deaths were caused by a genetic disorder or from something more sinister, we cannot be sure. Doping not only offers a huge improvement in ability, it also offers some of the most unexpected and dangerous side effects. Exogenous EPO, the first kind of direct manipulation of the blood in order to enhance its oxygen-carrying abilities. Erythropoietin, a natural hormone made by the human body, binds to young red blood cell precursors in the bone marrow, preventing them from programmed self-destruction. This hero hormone means baby red blood cells grow into adult ones and go on to manufacture vast amounts of hemoglobin. However, as the blood gets thicker with more red blood cells, the heart starts to struggle. Pumping a thicker, viscous fluid through a system of billions of tiny capillaries starts to take its toll. But the greatest danger lies at night. When asleep, the heart rate slows and hydration levels decrease, making the blood even thicker. Then, suddenly, tragedy can strike as the blood begins to clot, grinding the circulatory system to a halt. The heart then stops, and a young man loses his life. Imagine going to sleep, thinking of the race tomorrow, only to never wake up again. That is why blood doping is so dangerous. In the 90s, there were reports that riders would set alarms for 3 AM to jump on stationary turbo trainers or pace hotel hallways just to keep their blood circulating and to stay alive. Picture a healthy young man in peak athletic condition, but half of his face is slumped and his speech slurs and he's gone limp in his chair. He's suffering from a stroke, specifically an ischemic stroke caused by cerebral thrombosis. Brain cells are incredibly fragile, and without oxygen, they cannot produce energy and begin to die within minutes, causing irreversible brain damage. To avoid this deadly fate, experienced riders with doping doctors would ensure that the athlete's blood never thickened too much. Using anticoagulant drugs like hairpin, clots could be avoided by physically preventing the chemical proteins in the plasma from binding those cells together into a solid clot. Athletes also took high daily doses of aspirin, a drug that prevents platelets from sticking to each other or to the walls of narrow blood vessels, lowering the immediate risk of a stroke. Riders also drank massive quantities of water and electrolyte solutions all day and night, even waking up specifically to drink. Before bed or right before anti-doping tests, riders would secretly hook themselves up to intravenous bags of saline solution. This physically diluted their blood, temporarily lowering the hematocrit levels and thinning their blood. In extreme cases, some athletes use dextran, a complex sugar solution delivered through IV. Dextran acts as a plasma volume expander, drawing water directly out of the body's tissues and into the blood vessels to rapidly thin out heavily congested red blood cells. But modern doping has shifted from directly injecting hormones like EPO to using altitude-mimicking drugs called HIF stabilizers, hypoxia-inducible factor stabilizers. While old-school EPO acts like an artificial master switch in the bone marrow, these modern pharmaceuticals cheat the body's primary oxygen-sensing mechanism. They trick the cells into believing that they are starved of oxygen. Compounds like roxadustat, these modern drugs aggressively activate a gene called VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, which commands the body to sprout new networks of blood vessels, further enhancing the range of oxygen delivery to the muscles. But this can inadvertently feed cancer. Right now, in your body, you have multitudes of microscopic cancer cells lying dormant. But with increased oxygen and blood delivery to these cells, it can lead to rapid tumour growth. These altitude-mimicking drugs work by disabling the body's ability to detect whether enough oxygen is in the blood. The limiter is essentially removed, which can lead to huge overproduction of red blood cells, leading to strokes and heart attacks. In 1997, cycling introduced a hematocrit limit of 50%. Officially, it was presented as a health measure rather than a direct EPO test. A rider above the limit could be prevented from racing, but this number also became a target for riders to reach. Nowadays though, biological passports are used to detect strange changes in blood values over time. But how can this biological passport be tricked? Riders in the peloton today are getting younger and younger. Champions are also getting younger and younger. So targeting young riders with advanced doping strategies means that their passport never appears inconsistent, because they've already been enhanced right from the start. Rather than a 28-year-old suddenly transforming from average to world class, we see juniors appear suddenly to sweep up victories right at the start, never revealing any inconsistencies on their passport. It's also possible that enhancing younger riders can actually boost their abilities for the rest of their life. As their body is still developing, enhancements can have long-lasting effects, and there is even the theory that gene doping can permanently enhance natural EPO production. Not every doping-related cardiac death begins with a clot. Anabolic steroids and growth hormone can alter the structure of the heart, promoting enlargement, fibrosis, and abnormal remodeling. A more muscular-looking heart is not necessarily a healthier one. Scarred or enlarged cardiac tissue can disrupt its electrical signals and trigger a fatal rhythm without warning. There is also another danger that receives far less attention. In rare cases, the immune system can develop antibodies not only against injected EPO, but against the body's natural erythropoietin as well. Instead of producing more red blood cells, the bone marrow can effectively stop producing them, causing severe, potentially life-threatening anemia. Without professional doping doctors, an athlete chasing their best ever form is playing chances with the grave. How much would you risk to win a bike race? To see your loved ones one more time? To look into the eyes of your children again? Men, do not lose sight of your purpose. It is not a selfish one. Victories do not define us, it's how we get there that does. I'd like to close by just saying, the deaths mentioned in this video are not necessarily related to blood doping. However these talented young men met their end, they were beloved sons, fathers and friends. May their memory remain with us all as they ride on forever strong.